Hi, I'm Brandon Cox. I own Shadeworks Arizona. Today I just wanted to talk to you for a minute about the types of shade structures that we normally see. One that you'll commonly see is awnings. Those are usually smaller cantilevered setups that are designed to go over portals, windows, doors. They don't provide a lot of shade for recreation. Mostly they're just there to shade an entry. You'll also see pergolas. These are fairly common out here in the Phoenix area. Pergolas are generally wood structures, sometimes aluminum structures. They provide kind of a divided sunlight. So they don't provide an actual shade underneath, but instead the slats of the wood or the slats of aluminum provide intermittent shade. You'll see those by cabanas, you'll see those by pools. They're not what we would consider an effective shade for resting for a longer term, but they are good for individual structures. That being said, they're almost never engineered to actually be load bearing, so we do not like to attach to pergolas. Occasionally you'll see ramadas. Ramadas are more what you'll see in a picnic area for a park. These are larger structures, generally speaking, usually have benches or chairs underneath them, and ramadas will almost always have a rigid roof to them. So they may be sloped, they may be flat, but they're going to have a rigid roof. Textile shade structures, there are a few different options. The most common one that we build are shade sails. These strike a good balance between durability and between utility as well. They are perhaps the simplest one in concept. It's not to say that there is not a lot of engineering and design behind them, but they are the simplest one in concept. We'll have anchors at the corners, whether those are columns. I do have a piece of material here. This is one of our pieces of material that we'll usually use on smaller installations. Whether they're columns or whether they're anchored to an existing wall or whether they're anchored to a structure, we're going to have anchors in all of the corners, and then we're going to tension the textile between them. The textiles we tension between them have an array of shade ratings. If we're doing something where you want plants to grow, so we've got a courtyard that you want to provide a bit of shade so that your plants don't die in the summer, we are likely going to use about a 70% UV rejection shade so that the plants can actually survive. If you want something where you're going to have shade for people, we're going to use about a 90 to 95% UV rejection. And these are all under the category of shade sail. Additionally to that, kind of an iteration on that, we'll have lace panels. Lace panels, we use an enclosure around the perimeter. So this might be something boxed in on a wall. This also might be something we use in a courtyard. But either way, we're going to have a full perimeter and we're going to have grommets along the edges of the actual panel. We'll use those grommets to tension the panel along the entire perimeter rather than just at the corner. This has the benefit of sucking the panel a little bit closer so that we don't have a curvature on each edge. Finally, one of the more common shade applications that we do are ridge canopies, also known as hip canopies. These are generally going to be metal framed structures that come up to a peak, and then we're going to tension a piece of textile over that peak. Mostly we see these over playground and parking lot applications. These do require a bit more design, engineering, and installation than a shade sail, but you also have the visual representation of a rigid member as well. Contact us to schedule a consultation at shadeworksaz.com.